I've been disappointing a lot of people lately. I've been watching you, and it's been so helpful to be in just the space that you provide without the pressure to perform, or because I was following someone else that I guess I don't speak about like different teachers necessarily, but I'm just really confused about that one. But when I listen to you, everything kind of stills down, and there's no like pressure to perform, or you're not asking for devotion, or so.
You can let the emotion come.
I think that's what my question is. Like, you talk about how it's okay, like you feel like when pain comes, when you have pain, that it's everything is pain. And I've heard you say, and I'm really trying to let the pain out, but I don't know quite how to do it without spiraling down more, like adding story to it, I guess, beating myself up mostly. I disappoint a lot of people. I'm trying to actually not disappoint them. It's funny. But you did talk once. I was hearing you talk about this and how, like, it was a while back, or maybe in a retreat I was listening to. You talked about how it was funny how you could spend 10 years learning to be still, and then your partner would say you're so boring. Or something like that. You said, what? There's no juice. Something like that. And I was so relieved because before I don't know what, I was only ever following this one other prominent teacher real closely, and it is very different what you're talking about than that one. So it feels different, though it's spoken as if it's similar. I'm just trying to get out of the confusion of it. Like, I think if all is one, then why would there be the division of oneness in the different forms speaking about oneness? I guess I get confused because it's hard to follow which oneness. Anyway, I don't know if it's making sense, but I really appreciate you taking my call.
That's okay. That's a pleasure. What happens when we're speaking, or when you're listening to me speak, is that something's being recognized that's not intellectual, and that's why there's a attraction to it. And it really doesn't matter what I say, or if I contradict, or if they contradict. Whatever appears is it. There isn't a right or a wrong. Our mind is set up in opposites, so our mind is set up to judge this as right and that as wrong. And even though sometimes I say opposite, today this is what's coming. But it is as it is, and it will begin to be seen that you're not following my words or the belief systems. What's been recognized again is everything, but not by someone anymore. And it's all working its way out. You don't have to move in the right way. You don't have to do the right thing. There is the attraction to it, otherwise it wouldn't be appearing. And the disappointment of the other humans, that's part of relationships, because when you're in a relationship with somebody, you both have an idea of who that somebody is, and then you want that somebody to do things for you and to be a certain way in order to fulfill your somebody. So when you're in a relationship with someone, it's always going to be filled with disappointment. They and you are going to be looking for happiness from each other, from a pleasurable feeling from each other, and it's impossible. No things can ever do that.
understand like that from my side, but and not maybe fully, but I can catch it when it's happening. Like, oh, it hurt because you were still thinking you'd find what you need from the formlessness in a form. So that's why this is hurting, and it's like a constant like, oh, that's hurting again. Okay, that's because you're still looking in the form for the formless. But
and the really beautiful part about that is that action is happening in this, the action of catching it, and there's still this that's totally free and totally still, even though it's been caught or not caught. There's always this boundless freedom in which everything is. That's not you. That's that action of movement isn't you.
The action of movement, catching things.
Yeah, that's not your limitation, and you're not right or wrong if you don't catch it or do catch it. That's an appearance in boundlessness. And then most of us spend our lives bound in that, feeling like that's who we are, that we are that movement, that we are that separate movement that's got to free ourselves, be a better person, understand ourselves, and all of that's happening in it, as it. Right now, that's not that person looking. It's not you looking. This is life looking. This is everything looking.
You talk about like the person, when it's dissolving it hurts, but yet when you have experiences of just the dissolution, like of the taking LSD or whatever, that's just the emptiness, you called it, yeah. That it's just full of love, and there's nothing for fear. There's nothing.
The body might have fear, but there's nothing which is separate. There's nothing. It cannot feel like that. The body, but the body is not a separate person anymore. The body is a movement of energy, and the body might have fear, but it doesn't belong to anyone anymore. It's happening in boundlessness, in freedom.
And then there's also something like that, like that there's nothing that a person can actually do to wake up. Like it's gonna happen on its own, and but like.
I don't quite say it like that.
How do you say it?
It's not that there's nothing the person can do. It is there is no separate person.
That's right.
So doing will happen. So if there's an attraction to listening to this, they'll be listening to this. If there's an attraction to that other speaker, they'll be going there. But there's never actually somebody listening to this and somebody going there and somebody individually, separately doing anything. Action appears from nothing, not from time. Action appears from and as the void, not from time, not from past, not from you. So doing happens, but nobody does. So it's not that there's nothing you can do, it's that there's no you doing. But the mind hears that and thinks it's hopeless, I can't do it. But it's not quite that, it's that there is nobody doing. Doing happens, like always.
Okay, so when you bumped your mom and dad's car into something recently, or I don't know when I was listening to that, and they were upset with you, like I've been dealing with like people being upset with me because I've been detaching more from people and I'm not living up to the expectations maybe of what they have, and I don't even know them because I don't bother to ask them, and I guess that's letting people down, and so they blame. And I've had a lot of, it's funny, I'll be like sitting in the moment thinking, oh, this is really beautiful, this lane. Not that I'm gone yet, but this is so pretty, you know, or maybe I completely have, I don't know. But, and then it seems like a trend of people blaming, lots of, you know, anger and blame, and comes right after I catch that. It's like, oh, whoa. And then I go, and I lose what you just said with it, and it hurts again, and then I take it that I'm hurting. The contraction happens, as you say.
And it'll begin to be seen that even in the blaming is absolute perfection. Even in the sound of blaming and anger and aggression, there is absolute stillness. That it doesn't come from anywhere and it's not directed at anyone. That too is void.
But the person doesn't see that. It's just the space, this emptiness that recognizes it.
Yeah, the person can't see it, but it's the way it is. There is nothing that means anything. There's nothing that's actually going anywhere. So there's nothing that could blame someone. There are sounds appearing. And although that brain has to register it and take responsibility or deny responsibility, that all happens by itself. And the freedom is the happening, not the trying to get the movements of the happening to line up in a certain way. So to not get the blame to stop or anything, it's the freedom is the happening. Because the happening is not, is whatever is appearing because it's not happening. But we always look at it like that's my pain and I've got to get rid of it. Where really there is simply pain which is totally empty and vast. There is blame which is vast and empty and free. There is joy which is vast and empty and free. All of it's free.
So even like feeling misled by a teacher or something, I still love the teacher, but I felt kind of misled. But then I know that I must have needed to be misled if I was misled. I don't know.
There's just no, and also there's no separate energy which could be misled. Who could mislead who? Who could actually mislead you? There is energy dancing, giving the appearance that somebody misled somebody, but actually there's nobody there. There is energy moving.
So it's like a label we put on the energy, like there's just a sensation in the body, and then you like maybe have associated that to, oh, that's something in rejection, and then it starts a story?
The story just starts, and we live in our dualistic world, and our dualistic world is always an opposite. So there's somebody that's misled somebody else, there's somebody that blames someone. So it's always in two. It's always in good and bad, right and wrong, me and you, and that's not true.
I think when I see you acting, like when someone's aggressive or something, I've only seen a little bit of it, not too much, and you were so open about how like if someone's being kind of attacking or something, that you just sort of, the character Lisa just sort of kind of retreats or, smiles or, does a dance or whatever. I don't use words, but, knows exactly what to do, but inside. And I was like, wow, that's incredible. And I know as a person you can't figure all that out.
No, and sometimes I can reply, this body will reply with a lot of force. It's not always passive, but sometimes it's like a ball hits ball. I'm like, brum. I can be really forceful sometimes. But a lot of the time not. The personality tends to be passive, but it can be a ball.
Yeah.
Can really go. Or a ram.
No. In that moment it's just empty, there's no.
It happens to no one. There is just sensation as everything. But you don't have to get this, it's a happening. You don't have to understand me or understand it, it's happening.
Well, I have bought a ticket to India to go see someone there, and I'm going to probably end up coming instead to Beverly Hills and eating the ticket. I don't know why. It just feels better. It just seems cleaner. I don't know, those are all dualistic words, and I'm sure I hope to someday.
But also the person never knows. It says one thing and then it's like, oh, I'm on the plane, I'm off, oh, I'm there. Who never knows?
That's fun, thank you. I need to laugh a little. Okay, so I've heard people ask similar to this, and it's funny that it would come up, but like there's no course of action. The person wants to know the response.
The course of action is whatever appears.
Oh.
That is the course of action. Whatever appears. It's never going wrong. And the person's like, oh, that can't be right.
That's so cool. But that's not like you just believe that. That's like you really, that's how it is.
That's how it is. It could never be any other way than what appears. And that's always the way it's been. You can never fast forward or rewind. It only ever is as it is, and it appears the way it appears. The sun never would comprehend, am I shining wrong, or did I not give enough light, or did I give too much? It just shines. The flower the same, the tree, the animals, and then the human sits there and goes, I'm the wrong human. It cannot be. It cannot be. The self-consciousness or self-awareness is a tiny part of the functioning of these bodies. It's a tiny part. It comprehends such little of how this is working. The body moves and it goes, oh, I'm moving. Or I fancy to go and buy some orange juice. And then it goes and buys orange juice. But it's been happening before the reporters even reported on it.
It's like all your thoughts are past.
Yeah. And they're tiny little fragments of how it's functioning. Like self-consciousness or self-awareness was only helping us survive. It was only because certain things needed to be aware of, so we could be aware that we're looking at a computer, or we could be aware that we're drinking tea, as opposed to bleach. Whereas Khaleesi can't know that difference, and that's my dog.
I like her. So cute. Those pictures are so cute.
Yeah, she's a sweetie.
She was lucky she got to be with you in her life, which makes me wonder about like trauma. You talk about how like there's trauma in a lot of times. The sensations for me might be what I've been told anyway. Maybe either because I'm highly sensitive or because of trauma or whatever.
Yeah. That's part. But that's part of the body. That's like a bodily function. The body, like the body's been educated in English, in American, and this one in England, and it's been educated in that particular society. It also will be educated in trauma. So that which has created great pain in it, it will register. That body will register. And they even say that we genetically are passed on trauma as well. So we've got our parents' trauma as well, not only our own, but generations before. And I don't really know how energy works, but it's most probably that we've got other humans' trauma as well in the bodies. And to try and work that out, we're often taught in spirituality, we've got to work it out. To try and work it out would be endless in a way. And I don't know how much it would change. I mean, if it's genetically in every cell of the body, then it's going to be pretty hard to change. If you do change some of it, that's nice, but there'll be more trauma that come along. It's not freedom, it's like a never-ending cycle of movement. Like the body's going to be traumatized about things, and then it will move on to being traumatized about different things. So you'd never be able to fix that. I'm not against attempting to make it a little bit better if there's a bad trauma in there. Like me and Khaleesi have been doing loads of work to try and get her to be more a social dog, and it's really working. Like she's doing really well. She almost looks like she's well behaved. But
as long as no one touches her.
Yeah. Even that she's beginning to tolerate a little bit now. She went to the vet this evening and took her jabs, and the vet touched her and stroked her, and she tolerated it all. So she's really beginning to work some stuff out. But you know, tomorrow she could be hit by a car and then be traumatized by a car, and then we'd work on taking out the trauma of the car. So it's like it's a never-ending thing, that part of it, and that's not freedom. You don't have to work yourself out. The freedom is the emptiness, which is everything appearing now. And it's the illusion of self that says that's my trauma, this body's traumatized, this body had sometime growing up it was a little bit bumpy, like most people's, and it has some weird thought patterns around certain things and bizarre behaviors, and yeah, lots of different things. But that isn't freedom, and that has to act its way out. So if there's fear in this body has to show fear. If there's distrust in this body has to show distrust. If there's aggression in this body has to show the aggression. But none of that is my freedom, because none of that belongs to me. So it's not that I don't have to have those things. Those things appear, but they're appearing in total stillness, just like the sunlight is, just like the tree is, and none of it's me. It's a happening. When I used to think they were mine, I used to think somebody abused me or somebody hurt me, and that it was me and mine, and I had to deal with these things. And then that's when it began to get bizarre, because I felt like I had been traumatized and that somebody had done it to me, and that I was wrong or I was bad, and that's where the suffering began. Whereas they're just appearing, and also I didn't want to show it because I was ashamed, whereas now I act like a wally, and that's the way it is.
Not about you. So it's so nice, it's so refreshing. Oh.
It's a happening, and you know, there ultimately isn't anything that we have to be. It's just response happening in every moment, and there's not a fixed us. There's not a picture in which is us. We're not a traumatized person, or we're not a good person. It's every moment there is response happening, which tends to happen in patterns, but it's nothing to do with us. And the freedom is the collapse of the self, not the fixing of the body. The fixing of the body will be like a hamster in the wheel. But it's really not about behaving in any particular way. Like the body has to act out its trauma. Like Khaleesi or Heckles always go up when she greets a new dog. You know, like her hair stands on end. She has to do a little dance.
Oh, well, thank you for your time. I know
Oh,
there's other people.
it's a pleasure. It was lovely to speak with you.
Thank you. Okay, bye.